Come on, Janitor. Give everybody a show.
I do not fight.
Clean. That's what you do. Clean. Stop! What? Clean. Give everybody what they came for.
But not for your entertainment.
Clean.
But not for your entertainment.
The mop hit the floor so hard the whole dojo went silent. Kyle Bennett stood over it in his white gi, black belt tied tight around his waist, his face twisted into a grin that made the younger students look away. "Pick it up, old man," he said. Marcus Reed did not move. He stood near the edge of the training mat with a gray work shirt tucked into black pants, one hand still holding the metal handle of his mop bucket. His shoulders were wide, but tired. His boots were wet from the dirty water that had splashed across the polished floor. He looked like any other night janitor in any other building in America. That was the mistake everyone made. Kyle stepped closer. "You hear me, Marcus? Or did all that bleach finally get to your brain?" A few students laughed. Not loud at first. Just small, nervous laughs. The kind people give when they know something is wrong, but want to stay safe inside the crowd. The room smelled of sweat, cedar wood, and disinfectant. Heavy bags swayed in the back corner. The mirrors along the wall caught every face, every frozen expression, every phone being lifted. Marcus lowered his eyes. "I am just trying to finish the floor," he said. His voice was calm, low, almost too calm. Kyle liked that even less. He was 30 years old, strong, polished, and used to being watched. His father's name was on the new locker room plaque. His family's money had paid for the mats under their feet. And in this place, money had become a kind of permission. Permission to be cruel. Kyle turned toward the students. "You see this? This is what happens when a man forgets where he belongs." Nobody answered. A teenage boy near the mirror shifted his weight. A woman in the back, new to the academy, stopped wrapping her hands. Her name was Natalie Brooks, and she had only been there 2 weeks. She did not know Marcus. Not really. But she saw something the others missed. Marcus was not afraid. He was holding himself back. Kyle bent down, grabbed the mop, and shoved it into Marcus's chest. "Come on, Janitor. 1 round. You and me. Give everybody a show." Marcus caught the mop before it slipped. His fingers closed around the handle. Fast, clean, too clean. Natalie saw it. So did Kyle, though he did not understand what he had seen. Marcus let the mop lower slowly. "I do not fight," he said. Kyle laughed through his nose. "No, you clean. That is what you do." Then he kicked the bucket. It flipped sideways. Brown water rushed across the hardwood, spreading under the edge of the mat. A few students stepped back. Someone whispered, "Man, that is messed up." But no one stopped him. Marcus looked at the water. For 1 second, his breathing changed. It was small, almost invisible. His chest rose once, then stopped. His right foot shifted 1/2 inch. Not like a janitor trying to keep balance, like a fighter finding the floor. Kyle leaned in, close enough for Marcus to smell the mint of his mouthguard. "You disgust me," he said. "You walk around here like you matter." Marcus lifted his eyes then, and the room changed. Not loudly, not with drama, just a quiet pressure in the air, like every wall had moved 1 inch closer, because behind Marcus Reed's tired eyes was a history no one in that room knew. Not Kyle, not the students, not even the manager who signed his timesheets. They did not know he had once trained champions. They did not know the founder of this academy still kept his name locked in an old file upstairs. And they had no idea that the man they called the Help held a legal share in the very building they were standing in. Marcus looked at Kyle, then at the spilled water, then at the students watching in silence. He bent down, picked up the mop, and started cleaning. But this time, his hands were steady. And for the first time that night, Kyle Bennett was the only person in the room who did not realize the joke was about to turn around. Henderson Martial Arts sat at the far end of a quiet strip mall outside Marietta, Georgia, between a dental office and a tax preparation place that only opened during filing season. From the parking lot, it looked clean and expensive. Tall glass doors, black lettering on the windows, rows of trophies glowing under small white lights. Parents like that. It made them feel their money was going somewhere serious. Inside, the place smelled like sweat, floor polish, and old wood. The main training hall stretched wide under bright ceiling panels. Red and black mats covered the center. Mirrors lined the longest wall. Heavy bags hung in the back, still swinging a little after every advanced class. Above them were banners from tournaments across the southeast. Almost every banner carried the same name, Samuel Henderson, the owner, the founder. The man who built the academy from a rented church basement nearly 30 years earlier. To the students, he was a legend. To the parents, he was proof the place had value. To Kyle Bennett, he was mostly a name on the wall. Samuel had been gone for months, traveling with regional teams, judging tournaments, teaching seminars. In his absence, the academy still ran. Classes stayed full, checks cleared, the lights stayed on. But something else had changed, the tone. It did not happen all at once. It never does. A place does not become cruel in one afternoon. It shifts slowly. A joke that goes too far. A complaint that gets ignored. A bully who learns nobody will stop him. Marcus Reed noticed before anyone else did. He noticed because invisible people notice everything. He came in 6 nights a week at 6:15, just as the last children's class was ending. He waited near the supply closet while parents gathered shoes, water bottles, and half-finished snacks. Some nodded at him. Most did not. A few pulled their children closer when his mop bucket squeaked by, not out of fear, but out of habit. Marcus had learned not to take it personally. At least, that is what he told himself. He wore the same gray work shirt every shift, same black pants, same steel toe boots polished at the front but worn thin near the heels. He cleaned the bathrooms first, then the lobby, then the glass doors, then the mats, inch by inch, after every student had gone home. He was 44 years old, but some nights his back felt older. His paycheck was small, too small for the hours, too small for the knees, the chemicals, the midnight drives home. But every other Friday, half of it went straight to a care facility in Decatur, where his mother, Evelyn Reed, lived behind a locked memory care door. Evelyn was 68. Some days she knew him. Some days she called him by his father's name. Some days she held his hand and asked if little Marcus had eaten dinner yet. He always said yes, even when he had not. On bad weeks, Marcus ate peanut butter crackers from the vending machine and told himself hunger was temporary. His mother's care was not. Pride did not pay invoices. A man did what he had to do. So he mopped. He wiped mirrors that reflected other people's confidence. He emptied trash cans full of protein bar wrappers and tournament flyers. He restocked towels for students who never learned his name. And when the academy went dark, when the doors were locked and the parking lot emptied, Marcus stood alone in the training hall. That was when the truth came back, not loudly, not all at once. It came through his breath, slow inhale, slow exhale. His boots came off first, then his work shirt. He stood barefoot on the mat in a white undershirt, shoulders loose, hands as open. Then he moved, a block, a turn, a strike that stopped 1 inch from the mirror. His body remembered everything. The old discipline, the old pain, the old danger. His hands cut the air without sound. His feet slid across the mat so softly the floor barely answered. In the dark glass of the mirror, he did not look like a janitor. He looked like a man returning to a language he had tried to forget. One night, the office door clicked open behind him. Marcus stopped. The lights came on. Linda Walsh, the academy manager, stood frozen as near the hallway with a ring of keys in her hand. She had come back for a folder she forgot on her desk. Her mouth was slightly open. Her eyes moved from Marcus's bare feet to the sweat on his neck, then to the mop leaning untouched against the wall. For a second, neither of them spoke. Marcus reached for his work shirt. "Working late?" Linda asked. Her voice was careful. Marcus picked up the mop, just finishing the mats. Linda looked at the dry floor, then at him. She wanted to ask the question. It was right there on her face. "Who are you?" But people in buildings like that learn not to ask questions that might make their lives harder. So she nodded. "All right, Marcus. Lock up when you leave." He did. And she walked out, but she did not forget. By the next week, Kyle Bennett had started watching Marcus more closely. Not because he knew the truth. He did not. Men like Kyle rarely saw truth until it embarrassed them. He watched because Marcus had not broken. And for Kyle, that was an insult. Kyle Bennett did not grow up poor, but he grew up hungry in a different way. His hunger had nothing to do with food. It came from a father who measured love in trophies, handshakes, and public wins. Richard Bennett owned 5 luxury car dealerships across Georgia. His commercials ran during football games. His name sat on charity boards. He smiled in photographs with mayors and sheriffs and men who wore expensive suits to church. At home, he did not smile as much. "You had every advantage, Kyle," Richard once said over dinner, cutting into a steak he barely touched. "Private coaches, private school, the best gear, and you still freeze when it matters." Kyle was 23 then. He had just lost a regional final by 1 point. 1 point. His mother stared at her plate. His younger sister left the table without asking to be excused. Kyle sat there with his jaw locked while his father poured bourbon into a crystal glass. "You are too soft," Richard said. That sentence never left him. By 30, Kyle had built a body around it. 200 pounds of muscle, protein shakes in the cup holder, tape on his knuckles, a black belt he tied like armor. At Henderson Martial Arts, he could pretend softness had been beaten out of him. The students looked up to him. The younger ones feared him. The staff avoided him. And because his father's donations had paid for new mats, new mirrors, and the renovated locker rooms, people gave Kyle room. Too much room. Room to interrupt classes. Room to mock beginners. Room to hit too hard during sparring and call it discipline. Room to make a grown man with a mop feel small. Linda Walsh had reported him once. Only once. She wrote it in a careful email after Kyle split a teenage student's lip during a drill and laughed when the boy cried. She sent it to the board, copied Samuel Henderson, and attached the incident report. 3 days later, Richard Bennett donated money for new security cameras. The email disappeared into silence. Linda learned something that week. A policy is only as strong as the people willing to enforce it. By Tuesday evening, Kyle was in one of his moods. Everyone could feel it before he spoke. The way he paced. The way he snapped his belt ends against his thigh. The way he corrected students too sharply. Again, he barked. 8 advanced students reset their stances. Natalie Brooks stood in the second row, hands raised, breathing through her nose. She was 32, a graphic designer from Roswell, recently divorced, and taking self-defense because she was tired of feeling nervous in parking lots. She had come to the academy looking for confidence. Instead, she was learning what power looked like when nobody challenged it. Kyle walked the line. "Higher guard, Tyler. Stop being lazy." "Yes, sir." "Your hips are dead, Megan. You want to get knocked over?" "No, sir." Then he looked past them. Marcus was in the hallway, kneeling by the supply closet, restocking paper towels. He had his back turned. His movements were slow and organized, towels stacked evenly, spray bottles lined by height, trash bags folded flat. Military habits, though no one there knew that yet. Kyle smiled. "Hold up," he said. The class froze. He stepped off the mat and walked toward the closet. Bare feet slapped the hardwood. Loud, deliberate. "Hey, mop, man." Marcus did not turn right away. Kyle's smile thinned. "I know you hear me." Marcus stood slowly, one hand resting on the shelf. "You need something?" Kyle grabbed a red sparring helmet from the rack and shoved it against Marcus's chest. "Put it on. We need a body for reaction drills." Marcus looked down at the helmet, then back at Kyle. "I am working. You work for us." Kyle's voice dropped. Quiet enough to feel private, loud enough for the class to hear. "My dad helps keep this place open, which means he helps pay you. So when I say come to the mat, you come to the mat." Nobody moved. The fluorescent light in the hallway hummed above them. Marcus could hear a towel roll slip from the shelf and hit the floor. Soft, small, human. He set the helmet gently on the rack. "I will pass." Kyle stepped closer. "You do not get to pass. You are the help. Act like it." Natalie's stomach tightened. Tyler looked at the floor. Megan's mouth opened, but no words came out. Marcus held Kyle's stare. Not angry, not scared, just steady. Then he turned back to the shelf and picked up the fallen towel roll. For 3 seconds, Kyle did nothing. His face went still, then red. He snatched a kicking pad from the wall and threw it down the hallway. It slammed into Marcus's mop bucket with a crack that echoed through the building. "Clean that up too," Kyle said. A few students laughed. Not because it was funny, because laughing was easier than choosing. Marcus bent down, picked up the pad, wiped a streak of dust from its side, and leaned it neatly against the wall. Natalie watched his hands. No shaking, no rushing, no wasted movement. And for the first time, she wondered whether Marcus Reed was not enduring Kyle because he was weak. Maybe he was enduring him because he knew exactly how much damage strength could do. That night, Kyle Bennett sat at the bar of a steakhouse off Roswell Road, laughing too loud for the room. The place was dim and polished, all dark leather booths and amber lights. Men in button-down shirts leaned over bourbon glasses. A television above the bar played a baseball game nobody was really watching. Kyle sat with 2 training partners, Tyler James and Cody Mercer, both younger, both eager to be close to him. "You should have seen his face," Kyle said. He lifted his beer, smiling at the memory. "I told him to put the helmet on, and he looked like he wanted to disappear." Tyler laughed first because Tyler always laughed first. "Man, Marcus is huge too. Built like he could move a refrigerator. But nothing there." Kyle tapped his own chest. "No heart." Cody shook his head. "Maybe he is just trying to keep his job." Kyle looked at him. The table went quiet. Cody swallowed and looked down at his fries. "I mean, yeah, still pathetic." Kyle's smile returned, but it was thinner now. Pathetic is right. He drank, but the beer did not touch the place inside him that still heard his father's voice. Too soft. That old sentence moved under his skin like a splinter. It followed him into every room, into every match, into every mirror. It made kindness feel dangerous. It made mercy feel like losing. So Kyle found people he could beat without stepping into a tournament. Across town, Marcus sat alone in his apartment, eating cold rice from a plastic container. The place was small, clean, and almost silent. A box fan hummed in the window. Bills sat stacked beside the sink, clipped with a black binder clip. On top was the invoice from Decatur Oaks Memory Care. Due Friday. Marcus read it twice that morning, though he already knew the number by heart. He had $328 in checking. The bill was more than that. It was always more than that. His phone lay face down on the table. He had turned it over after a video came through from an unknown number. Kyle's voice had filled the apartment. "Ladies and gentlemen, meet the dojo mascot." Marcus had watched himself on the screen, pushing a mop under the mirrors while Kyle narrated like he was filming an animal at a zoo. "Look at that form. Elite technique. Somebody get this man a mop belt." The video had been posted before dinner. By the time Marcus saw it, hundreds of people had liked it. He did not throw the phone. He did not curse. He did not even stand up. He just turned it face down and finished his rice because humiliation was not new. What frightened him was not Kyle's cruelty. It was the heat that rose in his hands when he heard the laughter. That heat had a memory. It had a name. 9 years earlier, in a dusty military compound overseas, Marcus had found a young soldier named Aaron Miles pinned against a concrete wall behind the barracks. 2 senior men stood over him. One had Aaron by the collar. The other had a belt wrapped around his fist. It was supposed to be a joke, they said later. It was not a joke. Marcus remembered the sound of Aaron trying not to cry, remembered the smell of sweat and sand and diesel fuel, remembered saying stop, remembered being ignored. After that, his body moved before his mind could finish the warning. A wrist broke, a rib cracked. One man hit the ground and did not get back up for a long time. Marcus saved Aaron. Everyone who knew the truth understood that. But Marcus also saw what his own hands could do. That was the part that never left him. The army sealed the record to protect Aaron from being exposed. Marcus signed papers. He gave statements. He accepted silence because silence protected the man he had saved. Then he came home and walked away from the mat. No belt, no teaching, no explanations. He took jobs where nobody asked about his past. Loading docks, night cleaning, building maintenance. Work that left his body tired enough to sleep when the memories allowed it. At Henderson Martial Arts, He thought he had found something manageable, a place close enough to the old life to feel familiar, far enough away to stay safe. But Kyle kept pulling the past toward him. The next afternoon, Marcus opened the supply closet and stopped. Everything was gone: mop heads, gloves, towels, disinfectant, trash liners. The whole closet was empty except for one piece of tape taped to the back wall. "Where your stuff belongs." Marcus found the supplies 20 minutes later in the dumpster behind the academy. The gloves were cut. The mop heads were soaked in sour protein shake. One bottle of cleaner had cracked open and leaked through the trash bag. Linda Walsh came around the corner just as he was lifting the bag out. Her face tightened. "Marcus." He did not look at her. "It is all right." "No, it is not." He tied the ruined bag closed. Linda stood there, keys in hand, shame working across her face. She had 2 kids in college and a mortgage that kept her awake at night. She wanted to be braver than she was. Most people do. "I can write it up," she said. Marcus looked at the building. "And then what?" Linda had no answer. Inside the academy, Kyle's laughter cracked through the back door. Marcus lifted the trash bag with both hands. Something in his shoulder shifted. Something old. Something dangerous. Then he breathed it down. "Not yet," he whispered. "Not yet." By Thursday, the academy had learned a new habit: look away. When Kyle spoke to Marcus, people found their water bottles. They checked their phones. They tightened belts that were already tight. They adjusted wraps around hands that did not need adjusting. It was easier that way. That evening, Marcus sat alone in the break room during his 15-minute dinner. The room was barely a room, a small square space behind the office, with a humming refrigerator, a stained microwave, and a round table pushed into the corner. His dinner was a turkey sandwich wrapped in wax paper, cut cleanly in half. He had packed it before sunrise. 1/2 for dinner. 1/2 for later if hunger kept him awake. 2 teenage students came in first, still laughing from class. One was Tyler James. The other was a younger boy named Evan Miller, maybe 17, with acne along his jaw and nervous eyes. They opened the fridge, grabbed sports drinks, and sat at the table without thinking. Marcus nodded once. "Evening." Tyler nodded back, unsure what to do with basic kindness. "Hey, Marcus." Evan gave a small smile. Then Kyle walked in. The air changed before anyone spoke. Kyle glanced at Marcus, then at the boys sitting near him. His mouth twisted. "Y'all eating in here with him?" Tyler froze with the bottle halfway to his lips. Kyle opened the microwave, looked inside, and shut it hard. "Smells like floor cleaner in here. I cannot even breathe." Marcus kept his eyes on the sandwich. Evan shifted in his chair. "You want to stay?" It was all over his face, the discomfort, the guilt, the small moral test that comes without warning on an ordinary Thursday night. Kyle looked at him. "Something wrong, Evan?" "No, sir." "Then move." The boy stood too fast. His chair scraped the floor. Tyler followed him, eyes down, shame burning red up his neck. Neither one looked at Marcus as they left. Kyle leaned against the doorframe. "See that? Nobody wants to sit with the cleaning guy. Take a hint." Marcus swallowed once. Slowly, he folded the wax paper over the second half of the sandwich and placed it back in his lunch bag. Kyle watched, waiting for anger, begging for it without knowing he was begging. Marcus gave him nothing. That made Kyle's smile disappear. Later that night, after the last class, Marcus mopped the main hall. The mats had already been cleaned. The mirrors shone under the overhead lights. Outside, rain tapped softly against the front windows. Kyle came out of the locker room in sweatpants and a hoodie gym bag over one shoulder. He saw the wet floor sign. He saw Marcus. Then he walked straight across the freshly mopped hardwood. Slow steps, heel to toe. Wet prints followed him like a trail of disrespect. "Missed a spot," Kyle said. Marcus stopped moving. His hand tightened around the mop handle. The wood creaked under his grip. In the mirror, Natalie saw it from the hallway. She had stayed late to stretch, but now she stood still near the cubbies, one hand pressed against the strap of her gym bag. Marcus's shoulders changed. Only a fraction. His left foot slid back, his knees softened, his chin lowered. Not much, just enough. Enough for Natalie to feel the temperature of the room drop. For 1 second, the man with the mop was gone. In his place stood someone trained, someone precise. Someone who knew exactly where Kyle's balance was, exactly how far his shoulder could turn, exactly how quickly a body could hit the floor. Kyle did not see it. He was too busy smiling at his own cruelty, but Natalie saw, and Marcus felt it. That was the part that scared him most. His body had remembered before his conscience could stop it. He released the mop handle finger by finger. He breathed through his nose. He let his shoulders fall. He stepped back from the edge inside himself. Not here, not for this, not for him. Kyle waited, but nothing happened. So he laughed once and walked out into the rain. The door closed behind him. The bell above it gave a small, tired ring. Natalie came into the hall slowly. Marcus had already started mopping over the footprints. She watched him push the mop back and forth. Careful strokes, controlled, too controlled. You okay? She asked. Marcus did not turn. Yes, ma'am, that did not sound true. Natalie took one more step. He is wrong, you know. Marcus paused. About what? About you not mattering. The words landed softly, but they landed deep. Marcus looked at her then. For the first time, Natalie saw the exhaustion in his eyes. Not weakness, not defeat. Exhaustion from carrying power like it was a burden. From being seen only when someone needed a floor cleaned. Thank you, he said. Just 2 words. But his voice was rough around the edges. Natalie nodded, then looked toward the front door where Kyle had gone. Someone should report him. Marcus lowered his gaze. Someone already did. Natalie understood the silence after that. Money had spoken first. Policy had looked away. And Marcus Reed, the man nobody bothered to know, had been left alone with a choice that was getting heavier every day. That night, Kyle posted another video. It showed Marcus mopping footprints from the floor. The caption read, "Training the help." By midnight, it had thousands of views. By morning, it would reach the one person Kyle Bennett should have feared most. Samuel Henderson. Samuel Henderson saw the video at 5:40 in the morning in a hotel room outside Savannah. He had not slept well. Tournament weekends did that to him now. Too many folding chairs. Too much coffee. Too many parents asking whether their child had a future in competition. His knees ached when it rained, and that morning rain was tapping against the hotel window like fingers. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. A message from Linda Walsh. "I am sorry to bother you this early. You need to see this." Below it was Kyle's video. Samuel sat up slowly. He watched Marcus push the mop across the floor while Kyle's voice laughed behind the camera. Training the help. Students laughing in the background. Footprints across wet hardwood. No one stepping in. Samuel watched it once, then again. The second time, he did not listen to Kyle. He watched Marcus, the shoulders, the breath, the stillness under pressure. A memory opened in Samuel's chest. Okinawa, heat rising off stone steps. A younger Marcus Reed standing barefoot in a courtyard, moving through kata with the kind of control that made old masters stop talking. Back then, Marcus had not been invisible. He had been terrifyingly gifted. A 5th-degree black belt by discipline, not politics. A man who could break a body and still choose not to. Samuel lowered the phone. "My God," he whispered. His wife, Caroline, stirred under the blanket. "What is it?" Samuel did not answer right away. He was already dialing Linda. She picked up on the second ring. "Samuel, why is Marcus Reed mopping my floors?" There was a long silence. Linda exhaled. It sounded like shame. "Because you hired him 6 years ago, Sam." Samuel stood, the hotel carpet cold under his feet. "Why is he still mopping my floors?" Linda had no defense. Not a good one. Not an honest one. "He needed work," she said quietly. "He asked not to be treated special. You were on the road. He said he just wanted quiet." Samuel closed his and I gave him quiet. He said it like a confession. On the other end, Linda swallowed. "There is more, Sam." Samuel opened his eyes. "Tell me." She told him about the helmet, the supply closet, the break room, the videos. The complaints that went nowhere because Richard Bennett kept writing checks at the right time. She did not make herself sound brave. She did not make herself sound innocent. She told the truth, and the truth made her voice smaller with every sentence. Samuel listened without interrupting. Then he said, "Where is Kyle now?" "Planning something for Saturday." "What kind of something?" "A match. Him and Marcus. He is calling it staff versus students. He is telling people to bring phones." Samuel's hand tightened around the phone. Do not cancel it. Linda went still. What? Do not cancel it. But make sure every camera in that building is working. Hallway, lobby, training floor. All of it. And Linda? Yes? Do not warn Kyle. He hung up and sat on the edge of the bed. Outside, traffic hissed on wet pavement. The world kept moving like nothing had happened. But inside Samuel, something old and disciplined had awakened. At the academy that same morning, Kyle walked in carrying a gym bag and a grin. He felt untouchable. His video had passed 10,000 views. Comments praised him, laughed with him, pushed him to do more. The little digital crowd had done what crowds often do. It made cruelty feel like entertainment. Tyler met him near the front desk. Bro, Saturday is going to be insane. Kyle smiled. I told you. People love a mismatch. Natalie was sitting on the bench near the cubbies, tying her shoes. She heard every word. Her fingers slowed on the laces. Kyle turned toward the senior students gathering near the mat. Listen up, Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. We are doing a special exhibition. Me against Marcus. A few students laughed. A few looked uncomfortable. Evan Miller stared at the floor. Natalie stood. Did Marcus agree to this? Kyle looked at her like she had interrupted a sermon. He works here. That is not an answer. The room tightened. Kyle stepped closer, his smile gone. You got something to say, Natalie? She felt her throat dry. She was not used to rooms turning toward her. Not like that. But she thought of Marcus sitting alone in the break room. She thought of the wet footprints. She thought of all the times silence had dressed itself up as staying out of trouble. Yes, she said. Her voice shook, but it held. I think this is wrong. Kyle stared at her. Then he laughed. Wrong? It is a dojo. People spar. If he is too scared, he can say so. From the hallway, Marcus heard it. He had come in early with replacement gloves he had bought from his own pocket. He stood near the office door, unseen, the plastic bag hanging from his hand. Kyle kept talking. But I doubt he will. Men like that do what they are told. Marcus looked down at the gloves. $14. Money he needed. Money gone. He placed the bag quietly on the supply shelf. That afternoon, his phone rang during his lunch break. Decatur Oaks Memory Care. His mother was having a good day, the nurse said. Did he want to speak with her? Marcus stepped outside behind the building, where the dumpsters sat behind a wooden fence, and rainwater gathered in potholes. Hey, Mama. Baby, Evelyn Reed said, her voice thin but clear. You sound tired. Marcus looked at the gray sky. I am all right. A pause. Marcus, she said softly, do not lie to your mother. His eyes closed. For a moment, he was not 44. He was 10, standing in a kitchen while she packed his lunch. He was 20, leaving for basic training. He was 35, coming home with a silence she never tried to force open. They treating you decent at that place? He did not answer fast enough. Evelyn breathed into the phone. You are thinking about running from something. Marcus gripped the phone. Mama. You never ran from anything, she said. Not when you were little. Not when your daddy passed. Not when the army took more from you than it gave back. Do not start now, his throat tightened. I do not want to hurt anybody. Then do not, she said. Stand up without becoming what hurt you. The words settled over him slowly. Not permission, not pressure, a path. When the call ended, Marcus stayed outside in the rain until his shirt darkened at the shoulders. Then he opened his contacts and found a number he had not called in years. Daniel Carter, old army friend, civil rights attorney. When Daniel answered, Marcus said only one thing. I may need help. Daniel did not ask if it was serious. He heard it in Marcus's voice. Then we do this right, he said. Do not throw the first punch. Do not threaten anyone. Get the whole thing recorded from start to finish. Marcus looked through the back window at the training floor. Kyle was laughing in the center of the mat. Marcus's face did not change. It will be, he said. Natalie found Marcus in the parking lot just after closing, standing beside his old blue Ford with the driver's door open and the dome light glowing above him. The rain had stopped. The asphalt still shone under the security lights. Somewhere beyond the strip mall, a truck rolled down the highway with a low, steady growl. Marcus had one hand on the roof of the car and one hand in his pocket. He looked like a man deciding whether to leave before the world asked more of him. Mr. Reed, Natalie said. He turned. She held her gym bag against her side tighter than she needed to. I can record it Saturday, she said. The whole thing, wide angle, no cuts. Marcus studied her face. He saw the fear there, not fear of him, fear of stepping out of the safety of silence. You do not have to get involved, he said. Natalie gave a small breath that was almost a laugh, but not quite. I think that is what everybody keeps telling themselves. Marcus looked away. The words found the exact bruise. Natalie stepped closer, her sneakers making soft sounds on the wet pavement. My father worked maintenance at a courthouse for 30 years. People called him Chief when they wanted a light bulb fixed, but they never learned his real name. I hated that. I hated watching him smile through it. Her voice tightened, and I hated myself more when I got older and started doing the same thing to other people. Marcus said nothing. He had learned that when someone finally tells the truth, you do not rush to fill the air. Natalie wiped at one eye quickly, annoyed with herself. I will be there Saturday. Marcus nodded once. Thank you. She started to walk away, then stopped. Is it true? Marcus knew what she meant. The way you move, she said. You are not just a janitor. A car passed on the road, headlights sliding across his face. No, he said quietly, I'm not just a janitor. He did not explain the rest, not yet. On Friday, Kyle pushed harder. He came in wearing sunglasses, though the sky was cloudy, carrying confidence like a weapon. By noon, the group chat had grown beyond senior students. Former members were in it. Parents had heard about it. A few local fighters planned to stop by just to watch. Kyle loved that part. Attention gave him shape. At the front desk, Linda printed waiver forms with hands that would not stay steady. She had already checked the cameras twice. Then a third time, Samuel had texted her from the road. Make sure the floor cameras are saving to cloud backup. She did. Still, her stomach turned every time Kyle laughed. At 4:30, Richard Bennett walked through the front doors. He wore a charcoal blazer, no tie, expensive shoes that clicked on the lobby floor. He smelled faintly of cologne and leather seats. Kyle straightened the moment he saw him. Dad. Richard looked around the academy like he was inspecting a property he already owned. Heard you are putting on a show tomorrow. Kyle smiled. Just having some fun. Richard's eyes landed on Linda. Fun is fine, he said. Bad publicity is not. Linda held his gaze, but barely. Richard turned back to his son and lowered his voice. Not enough. Do not lose control. Humble him. Do not injure him. There is a difference. Kyle's jaw tightened at the word control. I know what I am doing. Richard looked at him for a long second. You usually think that. Then he left. Kyle stood still after the door closed. The lobby seemed too bright around him. Tyler, who had watched from near the mat, gave a nervous grin. Your dad coming tomorrow? Kyle snapped his head toward him. Shut up, Tyler. The grin vanished. Something inside Kyle had been touched, something raw, and by evening, he needed to put that pain somewhere. Marcus was cleaning the mirrors when Kyle approached from behind. Saturday, 2 o'clock, Kyle said. Marcus kept wiping. I heard. You show up. You get on the mat. You do what you are told. Marcus looked at Kyle's reflection in the glass. I have work scheduled. Kyle stepped close enough that both men appeared in the mirror, one in a black hoodie, one in a gray work shirt, one burning hot, one still as stone. Then maybe I call my father, Kyle said. Maybe I tell him the staff here has an attitude problem. Maybe Decatur Oaks does not get paid next month because you are looking for another job. Marcus's hand stopped on the rag. Kyle smiled. There it is. Marcus turned slowly. Do not mention my mother. Kyle should have stepped back. For the first time, some small animal part of him knew that. But pride is a dangerous driver. Then do not make me, he said. The hallway went quiet. Linda saw it from the office doorway. Natalie saw it from the bench. Evan saw it from the water fountain, his face pale. Marcus took one step toward Kyle. Only one. Kyle's smile faltered. Marcus's voice came low. I will be here Saturday. Kyle recovered fast, or tried to. Good. Marcus held his eyes. But understand this. I am not coming for your entertainment. No one breathed. Kyle forced a laugh. Whatever helps you sleep. He walked away first. That mattered. Everyone saw it. That night, Marcus sat in his car outside Decatur Oaks Memory Care and watched the lit windows. He did not go in. Visiting hours were over. He just sat there with both hands on the wheel. Inside that building, his mother slept in a room he could barely afford. Inside his chest, the past waited with open hands. His phone buzzed. Remember what I said? No first punch, no threats. Full recording. Witnesses matter. Marcus typed back, I understand. Then another message came in. Natalie. I will record from the back corner. I will not stop. Marcus looked at the screen until it blurred. For years, he had believed standing up meant becoming dangerous again. Now, for the first time, he wondered if standing up could mean something else. Not violence, not revenge. Truth. He started the car. Saturday was coming. By Saturday morning, Henderson Martial Arts no longer felt like a school. It felt like an arena. Cars filled the strip mall lot before 1:30. Parents parked beside the tax office. Former students leaned against bumpers. A few young men who did not train there came in wearing gym shorts and excitement on their faces. The kind of excitement that always gathers around public humiliation when it thinks there will be no consequences. Inside, the lobby buzzed. Shoes lined the cubbies. Phones charged against the wall. Someone had brought iced coffee. Someone else had brought a small tripod. The Academy's motto hung above the front desk in brushed metal letters. Discipline, honor, respect. Linda Walsh looked at those words and felt sick. She checked the security system one more time. Training floor camera active, lobby camera active, back hallway camera active, cloud backup running. Her hands moved with purpose, but her mouth was tight. Natalie arrived at 1:40, with her hair pulled back and her phone fully charged. She wore a plain black sweatshirt and stood near the back corner, where she could see the entire mat. She tested her camera angle twice. Wide frame, no zoom, no drama. Truth did not need help. Evan Miller came in a few minutes later, quiet and pale. He stood near Natalie. Are you recording? He whispered. Yes, good. He looked toward the mat. I should have said something before. Natalie did not look away from her phone. Then say something when it matters. In the center of the mat, Kyle bounced on his toes. Fresh white gi, belt tied perfectly. Hair damp from the locker room sink. He rolled his neck and threw a few sharp punches into the air. Every movement said, watch me. Tyler stood nearby, forcing a grin. Man, this is wild. Kyle smiled without warmth. This is necessary. Necessary for what? Nobody asked. At 2:15, Marcus entered through the back door. No gi, no belt, no gloves. Gray work shirt, black pants, work boots. A hush moved through the room, followed by laughter. There he is, Kyle called. The main event. A few people clapped. Someone near the lobby whistled. Another voice muttered, Mop Man versus the champ. Marcus walked to the edge of the mat and stopped. He looked around the room, not fast, not nervous. He took in the faces, the phones, Linda at the front desk, Natalie in the back corner, camera steady, Evan standing beside her, jaw tight. Then he looked at Kyle. I am scheduled to set chairs for the youth class, Marcus said. Kyle's grin faded. Chairs can wait. They cannot. Parents paid for that class. That answer unsettled the room more than anger would have. Kyle stepped forward. Get on the mat. Marcus did not move. Kyle's voice lowered. Or do I call my father and have a conversation about your employment? The laughter died. Even people who wanted a show understood what that meant. Marcus stood still for 3 seconds, then 5. He was not deciding whether he was afraid. He was deciding what kind of man he would be when the room tried to turn him into something else. He stepped out of his boots. One, then the other. The room erupted. Kyle tossed him a sparring helmet. Marcus caught it with one hand without looking. Fast, silent, clean. The crowd noticed. The sound shifted. Laughter became murmuring. Marcus held the helmet for a moment, then placed it gently on the floor. I do not need this. Kyle laughed too loudly. Your funeral. They faced each other. Kyle took a textbook stance. Left foot forward, hands high, chin tucked, tournament clean, camera friendly. Marcus stood upright, arms relaxed at his sides, feet shoulder-width apart. He looked like a man waiting for a bus. Kyle moved first. A jab snapped toward Marcus's chin. Marcus moved his head 2 inches. The punch cut air. A few people made a small sound. Kyle threw a cross, harder. Marcus turned his torso. The glove grazed his shirt and missed. Kyle's eyes narrowed. He fired a front kick at Marcus's ribs. Marcus pivoted. Nothing more. The kick struck empty space. Now the room went quiet. Phone stayed raised. Nobody laughed. Kyle reset, breathing through his nose. He threw a fast combination. Jab, cross, hook. Marcus slipped the jab. His forearm met the cross with a sharp crack. The hook passed where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. No panic, no rush, no wasted motion. Natalie felt her own breath stop. Evan whispered. His face changed. He came forward again, faster now, angrier. The clean tournament form began to tear at the edges. His feet slapped too hard. His shoulders tightened. His ego had entered the fight, and ego makes even trained men sloppy. Fight back, Kyle snapped. Marcus said nothing. Stop running. Marcus still said nothing. Kyle spun into his favorite back kick, the one from his highlight videos. The one students had seen him land a dozen times. Marcus read it before Kyle turned. He stepped inside the rotation. Close. Too close. Kyle's legs swept harmlessly behind him. For one split second, Marcus stood inches from his face. Kyle saw his eyes. Calm, not empty. Calm, the kind of calm that comes from knowing exactly what could happen and choosing mercy anyway. Marcus stepped back. That mercy humiliated Kyle more than any strike could have. His voice cracked. Fight me. Then he charged. Wild overhand right. Full weight, full anger, full mistake. Marcus moved. One step offline. One hand to the wrist. One hand to the elbow, a turn of the hips. A clean redirection. Kyle's feet left the mat. For a frozen second, 200 pounds of muscle and pride hung in the air. Then he hit the floor, flat on his back. The sound cracked through the academy like a door slamming shut. Kyle gasped once. Ugly and helpless. Nobody moved, nobody spoke. Marcus stood over him, breathing steady. Not smiling, not posing, not victorious, just human. He extended a hand. Kyle slapped it away. Marcus nodded once and stepped off the mat. Then the front door opened. Samuel Henderson walked in. Samuel Henderson stood in the doorway with a leather duffel hanging from one shoulder and rainwater darkening the cuffs of his jeans. No one said his name. They did not need to. The room knew him the way a church knows silence. He was 65 now, thicker through the middle, silver hair cropped close, one knee stiff from old tournament injuries. But his presence still cut through the academy like a blade. Students straightened without thinking. Parents lowered their phones. Linda covered her mouth with one hand. Samuel's eyes moved slowly. Kyle on the mat, gasping. Marcus barefoot at the edge. 30 phones in the air. The helmet on the floor. The security cameras blinking red above the mirrors. He let the duffel slide from his shoulder. It hit the floor with a heavy thud. Kyle rolled to one side and coughed. Sensei, Kyle rasped. He attacked me. Samuel did not look at him. He looked at Marcus. For a moment, the years between them seemed to fold in half. Okinawa. Heat. Discipline. The old courtyard. Two younger men bowing until sweat fell from their faces onto stone. Samuel took one step upward, then another. His shoes stopped at the edge of the mat. Marcus stood still. The whole room watched. Samuel placed his feet together, straightened his back, brought his hands to his sides. Then he bowed. Deep, formal, complete. Not a polite nod. Not the casual respect of one instructor greeting another. A full bow. The kind reserved for someone who had earned more than rank. The kind most people in that room had never seen Samuel Henderson give to anyone. A sound moved through the students, soft and confused. Kyle pushed himself up on one elbow. What are you doing? Samuel remained bowed for a second longer. Then he rose. It has been a long time, he said. His voice was quiet, but it carried. Master Reed. The words landed harder than the throw. Natalie's phone stayed steady, but her eyes filled. Evan whispered, Master? Tyler lowered his phone like it had suddenly become too heavy. Kyle stared at Marcus as if the man had changed shape in front of him. Marcus bowed back, slow, equal, humble. Samuel's face tightened with emotion he did not try to hide. I should have found you sooner. Marcus said nothing, because in that room silence finally belonged to him. Linda stepped forward, voice shaking. Sam. I tried to. Samuel lifted one hand. Not harsh, just enough. We will talk. Then he turned toward the crowd. Every person holding a phone, save what you recorded. Do not delete anything. Do not edit anything. If you witnessed what happened here today, you may be asked to give a statement. The word statement cooled the room fast. This was not entertainment anymore. This had become evidence. Kyle tried to stand. My father is going to hear about this. Samuel finally looked at him. Good. Kyle froze. Samuel stepped onto the mat. Your father should hear everything. The threats, the videos, the harassment, the way this academy allowed money to make cowards out of grown adults. Nobody moved. Samuel looked toward the front desk, toward the banners, toward the motto on the wall. Discipline, honor, respect. His jaw tightened. We put those words on the wall, he said. Then we stopped living by them. Kyle's face flushed. He embarrassed me in front of everyone. No, Samuel said. You did that yourself. Short, clean, final. Kyle looked around for support. Tyler looked away. Cody was not there. Evan stared straight at him, no longer hiding behind his fear. Natalie lowered her phone at last, but she did not stop recording. Marcus bent to pick up his boots. Samuel turned to him. Please stay. That word, please, changed something in the room. Marcus paused. For weeks he had been ordered, mocked, filmed, threatened. Now the most respected man in the building had asked. Not commanded, asked. Marcus picked up his boots anyway, holding them in one hand. I have to finish my shift. Samuel's face broke a little. No, he said softly, you do not. Marcus looked at him. Yes, I do. There is a youth class tomorrow morning. They need clean mats. That was when Linda cried. Not loudly, just one sharp breath, then tears she turned away to hide. Because the dignity of it hurt. Because Marcus had been humiliated, threatened, and forced onto a mat, yet his first thought was still the children who would walk in tomorrow. Samuel swallowed. Then I will help you. The room shifted again. The founder of Henderson Martial Arts picked up the mop. For one stunned second, nobody moved. Then Evan stepped forward. I will help too. Natalie followed. Then Megan. Then, slowly, two more students. Tyler hesitated at the edge of the mat, shame all over his face. He looked at Marcus. I am sorry, he said. The words were small, maybe too late, but they were real. Marcus studied him for a moment, then nodded. Grab towels from the closet. Tyler moved fast. Kyle stood alone in the middle of the mat, no longer the center of anything. His phone buzzed in his bag, then buzzed again. Across the academy, videos were already being uploaded. Not Kyle's clipped version, not his joke. The whole thing, start to finish. By sundown, the internet would know the name Marcus Reed. By midnight, Richard Bennett would call an attorney. And by Monday morning, the fight on the mat would become something much larger. A public reckoning. A question no one in that academy could avoid anymore. How many decent people had stayed silent because a cruel man had money behind him? By Monday morning, the video had done what silence never could. It made people look. Not at Kyle's version. Not at the little clip joke he wanted the world to see. Natalie's recording showed everything. The threats, the phones, the first strike, the second, the third. Marcus refusing to hit back until Kyle charged wild and uncontrolled. One clean throw, one controlled ending. Then Samuel Henderson bowing. That was the moment people replayed most. A master bowing to the man everyone had called the help. Richard Bennett moved fast. Men like him always did when control started slipping. By noon, his attorney sent a letter to Henderson Martial Arts claiming Kyle had been assaulted. By evening, a local reporter had a shortened clip showing only Kyle hitting the mat. No threats. No punches, no context. For a few hours, the story split in half. Some called Marcus dangerous. Some called him a hero. Marcus did not read most of it. He sat at his kitchen table with the rent bill on one side and his mother's care invoice on the other. His phone kept buzzing until he turned it face down. Then Daniel Carter came. He wore the same navy suit he had worn for years, the sleeves slightly shiny at the cuffs, his leather briefcase scarred from too many courthouse steps. He placed 3 folders on Marcus's table. Security footage, he said. Witness statements. Prior complaints. Marcus looked at him. Prior complaints? Daniel's jaw tightened. Linda kept copies. The academy's cameras had caught more than Kyle knew. The helmet shoved into Marcus's chest. The kicking pad thrown down the hall. The ruined supplies. The footprints across the wet floor. The threat about Marcus's job. 4 weeks of cruelty, stamped with dates and times. And there was more. 3 former students had filed written complaints against Kyle in the past. One part-time instructor had quit after Kyle injured him during sparring and laughed it off. Each complaint had been followed by a donation from Richard Bennett. New mats, new mirrors, New locker room. Money had not just supported the academy. It had taught people to swallow the truth. The board met Wednesday evening. Richard Bennett arrived with his attorney, and the confidence of a man used to rooms bending toward him. Kyle sat beside him, jaw tight, eyes lowered. Samuel sat at the head of the table. Marcus sat across from them in a clean gray shirt, hands folded, breathing steady. Richard spoke first. "My family has been generous to this institution." Samuel looked at him. "Your family bought silence." The room went still. Richard's attorney shifted in his chair. Samuel opened a folder and slid copies across the table. "Here is every complaint. Here is every donation that followed. Here is the full video. Here is the security footage. And here is the operating agreement from 2012. Marcus looked down. He knew what was coming, but hearing it still made his chest tighten. Samuel continued. "Marcus Reed is not just an employee here. Years ago, when this academy nearly closed, he invested his savings after my first stroke. Quietly. No publicity, no plaque, no speech. He owns a minority share in this building and this business." Kyle lifted his head. Richard blinked once. For the first time, he looked at Marcus like he was seeing a person instead of a uniform. Marcus did not smile. That was his power. Not money, not rank. The fact that he had held authority the whole time and never used it to humiliate anyone. The board voted that night. Kyle was permanently expelled. Richard Bennett was removed from the advisory committee. His family's name came off the locker room plaque before sunrise. The academy issued a public apology, plain and direct, admitting that staff complaints had been ignored and promising independent review for every future report. Richard's attorney withdrew the threat. Quietly. The local station ran a correction the next day. But the real ending did not happen on television. It happened the following Saturday morning. Marcus stood at the front of the mat in a plain white gi for the first time in years. His black belt rested at his waist, worn soft at the edges. In front of him stood janitors, bus drivers, nurses' aides, warehouse workers, retirees, and a cafeteria cook who had driven nearly 2 hours to be there. Samuel stood near the wall, hands behind his back. Natalie filmed from the corner. Linda checked people in at the desk, calling every person by name. Marcus bowed. The room bowed back. His phone was propped against the mirror. On the screen, Evelyn Reed watched from Decatur Oaks, wrapped in a blue blanket, her eyes clearer than they had been in weeks. "That is my son," she whispered. Marcus heard it. His face trembled just once. Then he breathed in and began the first lesson. "Feet under you," he said. "Eyes forward. You do not have to be loud to stand tall." Outside, cars kept passing. The strip mall looked ordinary. The world looked the same. But inside that room, people who had spent years being overlooked stood a little straighter. So when you leave this story, think about the Marcus Reed in your life. The person cleaning after hours. The woman stocking shelves before sunrise. The man everyone walks past without a name. See them. Respect them. And if this story made you think of someone who deserves to be seen, share it with them. Sometimes dignity starts with one person finally paying attention.